listening to the Medic Materials Podcast, hosted by Mike Turek, Emily Yates, Kelsey Coons, and Gerard Cuomo. All are current EMS providers and educators with a combined 30 years experience. Each month, we discuss EMS news, medical science, and review actual EMS calls, bringing many educational opportunities to the listener. Portions of the calls have been altered to protect the privacy and identity of all involved.
Hello and welcome everyone back to the Medic Materials Podcast. So Gerard, I had a present for you, you peckerhead.
Did you? Know?
Yeah, and yeah.
Finally!
Gerard.
It's come back!
Aye.
So welcome back to your seat at the table.
That's true.
Yeah,
I have been.
It's been quite a while since you've been at the actual table.
I'd like to thank you for not, putting anything down here that has a cushion or anything.
You're
like that.
very welcome. I kept it exactly as you left it.
Yeah, gotta get
100%.
Gotta get those splinters up there. Yeah.
You'd feel, too welcomed if
That
you
is
had
true.
a cushion.
That is true.
So we don't want that.
Yeah, gotta know when to leave.
That's right. But today is going to be a very interesting episode since we have the largest grouping around this table.
Yeah, I didn't think we'd all fit.
I didn't think we all fit. Like when I was putting 6 chairs around this table, I was like, there's not enough space. I had to move the table about 1.5 feet that way just to fit. But Tammy, you're here. You've been a guest on the show before, if people remember. Greg and Ariel are back with us, and super awesome. The one who never said they would do it
You should have
ever
done
again.
a finally for her.
That's right,
Yeah.
right? Jess is here, so yay for that. And the topic that I want to talk about today, what are we laughing about now?
You've got too many women in the same room. They're gonna laugh.
Are they
It's
all
just-
going to giggle?
Yeah,
Yes.
it's gonna happen.
Okay, well then
Just
keep going.
Just let it happen.
I can't just let it happen. I don't even know what's happening.
That's their strategy,
Oh, okay.
how they
So
do it.
just be confused?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm good at that.
and it's just gonna be your fault in the end anyway. So it's all good.
I'm confused most of the time anyway. So this was the topic that we're gonna do today, and the fact that Kelsey's not here is I'm not doing a rig check today. We have a super, I would say, not just interesting but special topic to
I was
talk
gonna say
about.
at least let me give a shout out to like Pago Pago and Papua New Guinea or something.
I didn't put together anything. So yeah,
Okay.
there's your shout
There's
outs.
a shout out.
There
Pago
you go.
Pago.
Oh, yeah!
There you go. But this was a brainchild topic of the table a few months ago, and we've kind of been sitting on it, trying to wait for the best opportunity. And I really wish that like Emily and Corey were here for this
Yes.
because they were part of the brainchild, especially since Corey is like, he is the inventor of our favorite catchphrase of donuts. So I really wanted him here for that. But we kind
The
of
random yelling of donuts in the freaking bay is just it's classic.
the best is when you're sitting there talking on the Bay Radio to County, and he's like donuts, and you're just like, God damn it, Corey! Like, and I know that all of the dispatchers are like,
What?
I don't like, like what? But he's just an integral part of the
I know,
show.
I know.
I mean, So I want to talk, and I brought all of us together specifically to talk about relationships and how we form them and how we keep them together within the EMS first responder realm. And, none of us are experts at, we're not certified relationship people, we're just people that have had fairly good luck in our relationship, keeping it together. And I think that's really hard in this business. You look at, I went out looking for statistics, and it was like 46.5% divorce rate for EMS personnel alone. That's not even counting like firemen and, any other first responder. That's just EMS people. So, I mean, we've all known people that start to date, break it off. hate each other, whatever, it turns ugly. We've all seen that throughout our time in EMS. So I think it's something, you know, as we talk a lot about mental health on the show, this is also something like relationship health is also something, you know, that people need to talk about and people need to hear about. And this was the perfect opportunity to get all of us together to kind of talk about, you know, different things that we do and kind of our approaches to keep home life stable, you know, and especially like I kind of want to, everyone in this room is an EMS provider in some realm or fashion.
Yep.
So it's easy, I think, for us to go, hey, you know, living with a spouse that's also in the business is a whole lot easier. But I also want to talk about, you know, what if your spouse isn't in the business?
Yeah.
You know, how then is it kind of different, you know? So I want to start off with just asking a broad, you know, discussion topic of what it's like living for you guys with an EMS spouse or partner. Because I'm sure there's a lot of people that have them. You know, for me, I think it's easy. It's so easy, you know, because there's a lot of things that we take for granted that they understand. Like, if I get out late and I miss something, they don't care. Like, they understand, hey, yep, that's part of the job, and I'm not going to be angry with them when they get home because they missed something.
Right. Oh, you're working Christmas. Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, oh, hey, you're working
We'll
Christmas too.
We'll open presents the next day.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, and that's the, I think it makes it easy in those terms, whereas like if they weren't an EMS spouse, maybe they'd be like, well, why aren't you home on Christmas? You've missed the last 4 Christmases in a row.
Right.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
You
We're
know?
second fiddle to your job. Yeah, all that
Right.
good stuff.
You know? So what do you guys think?
How about the newly
Christened couple?
anointed? Yeah.
Well, I definitely agree. I think that it is easier coming home from like work, and if you had a stressful day, I think having an EMS partner, somebody that does the same job as you, they really understand more and can sympathize with anything. If you had like a bad call and you have to talk about it, and also like getting out late, they do understand. Like there's been multiple events that we've missed because we've gotten out multiple hours late. And even when you do get out late, your partner, well, at least my partner, will try to make life a little bit easier for me before I get home. So whether it's, you know, getting some laundry done, cleaning up, just making everything nice, I guess. It's the best way to put it before you get home after a long day.
You're getting a ton of praise, Greg. Good
Right?
job.
Really nice.
You make us look bad. Goddamn.
I think it goes both ways, though. Like, you know, it's vice versa. I do the same thing for him if it happens.
Yeah.
So.
Cashing in the brownie points already.
Right? Shit.
Who invited this guy?
So no, but along that lines, I get it because the one night coming home to a bowl of cereal and a candle on the table, and I was flipping mad, and you know, here's trying to be romantic, even though it's a bowl of cereal and a candle. Just understanding that no, something happened and it was still romantic anyway, but got all the crap off my chest first. Yeah. So yeah, something to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and coming home and just talking about it, you know, obviously protecting HIPAA at all times. Just discussing the calls. If it is a bad call, it definitely helps. So you don't bottle anything in. Where if you're not dating somebody in the EMS world, you know, they won't really understand the emotional impact that it might have. You know, they might just look at it as, you know, oh, that's his job, where we understand because we're actually there and, you know, experience the same feelings and calls and that such.
Yeah, I mean, and it's a double-edged sword, too, because, you know, there's times like I'll come home and, you know, I've had a particularly rough day. And, I mean, I'm more of an introvert, I think, when it comes to that kind of stuff. And then she'll pick up on it. And, you know, a little bit of, you know, stroking the mane a little bit, and all of a sudden, yeah, okay, and then out it comes. You know, so it's, I mean, yeah, if you're one of those people who likes to, you know, do what men do. You know, we like to knot it all up and push it down. You know, make a nice little ball inside our stomach that turns into cancer. You know, Yeah, if you're one of those guys, yeah, and you're with someone who does the same work, yeah, I mean, it's hard to hide that shit. You know, you'll come home and they'll be like, what happened? You know?
And I agree with G. It's understanding your partner's behaviors and their emotions when you can tell something is physically, distressing them, or, if they don't come home and they're quiet, something happened, you got to open up with them too.
Yeah, I mean, like,
if they are keeping it in, you got to try to talk it out with them. Say, hey, open up. This is what's going to get you through it.
yeah, I mean, and kind of like our routine, like I'll come home and come to the door, and, hey, babe, how you doing? All that good stuff. And then, so tell me about your day. What calls did you have? That kind of stuff. And it just, she's actually interested and she understands what I'm talking about when I say, oh, we did this, that, and the other thing, flew this one, did that. And, oh, okay. Well, yeah, it's nice having somebody who can understand what you do, why you do it, and then the technical stuff with it. Because, we could sit here and, start talking all kinds of medical, mumbo jumbo to, somebody who, works at, the bank, and they're just like, oh, okay, so you had a good day?
Yeah,
They're listening.
Right,
They're listening,
right.
not understanding.
Exactly. Yeah. So it's nice to have somebody that can understand.
And someone who's, can be non-judgmental. It's like,
Yeah.
A little mini debrief at home. Sometimes when you're talking to someone who's outside the business, they ask you questions, and not knowing could make you feel worse about
Right.
the situation because, they want to know what happened and what you did, and maybe makes you, it almost seems like they're questioning if you did everything you could.
Yeah. No, I get it. 100%. Yeah. And
Or you
I still get it all the time, constantly.
I was gonna say, or you get that 5 mile stare with, okay, I hear you, but I'm really not paying attention. I'm actually watching something else, or I'm tuned out. I just hear you talking.
Yeah.
Because they don't understand what you're talking about, to be honest.
So then at the same point, there's a bunch of people that work EMS that then don't have EMS or first responder spouses. How in that realm is there ways to make that relationship better so they do understand? Because a lot of times, there's been relationships that I've seen where it's been that kind of partnership, and, the individual who works EMS works a 24-hour shift, they run their balls off, and they're exhausted when they get home, and then their spouse is like, yeah, no, you're not allowed to take a nap. Like, you have things to do. Like, we have plans, whatever. And there's no understanding, and that's got to be super hard. Because, that's the one thing that I think Jess and I do the best throughout our entire relationship is, hey, you look really tired. I don't care what we needed to do. Go sleep.
Yeah.
I will do everything for the next 5 hours. You sleep until you need to wake up.
Oh, yeah, she does the same thing to me. That's why she's just making the face.
Yeah, and
Because I'll fight it. I'll be like, no, I'm okay. And she's
Right.
like,
No,
go
we
lay
lay
down.
down.
we both do. I do that, and she yells at me. She's like, don't tell me what to do. I'll be tired if I want.
Like, you're falling asleep in the chair. Your head
Fell asleep mid-sentence.
yeah, go lay down.
I've witnessed that.
Right.
I have witnessed that. Oh, yeah. Hey, Gerard, how you doing? Look over. He is out fucking cold.
Yes.
I'm like, well, we were having a conversation.
Yeah. Just put your feet up. Put the seat back. Just rest. You're freaking tired.
But, I mean, that's got to come as a super stressor.
Right. If you're
You
not,
know,
if they're not part of it, yeah.
If you're not part of it, and understand that, oh, yeah, he's just, an EMT, or she's just an EMT or paramedic or whatever. Their job's easy. They get downtime,
he
this,
brings
that,
his
the other thing.
Xbox with him.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's got to be super
Yeah.
stressful, So it's how do you even try and bridge that gap? And I mean, communication is always where you start. You have to talk to people. Listen,
and that's
no.
Yeah, I mean that's where I was going to go with it. Was you have to be inclusive, especially if you're somebody who likes to either bottle things up for yourself, or you think you're going to protect them by not opening the door and pulling the curtain back to of what it is that you do. And I know in some respects it is that kind of I don't want them to know about the dead 1-year-old that ate the cigarette butts out of the ashtray and was dead before we got there. I could come home and talk about that with her. Somebody who works at the bank, you know, you might, oh, what'd you do today, honey? Well, we had these, a lot of people came through the drive-through today, and what'd you do? Well,
Right.
There was this dead baby. It's
Yeah,
it's,
I mean,
so, but I'm not saying to
there's no perspective.
right, but so what I'm getting at is not don't, if you're one of these people who has somebody who isn't in it, don't shut them out, but you don't have to be all graphic and all that, but yeah, I mean, actually, hey, this is what happened, babe. We had a call, explain it. This is what happened. This is what we tried to do, and it didn't work, and so I'm kind of having a bad day, and hopefully they'll understand.
So I had a friend of mine, and we when I first started doing EMS, and one of the places I worked with him, he always had what he called his work wife and his home wife, and they knew about each other, and he could talk to his home wife, knew that if he was having a bad day, he could talk to, because it was always his same partner. He always kept the same partner, and so he would talk with her about bad calls and things, and the wife at home understood that the partner and the wife were friends as well. And so she could he would have somebody to talk to about the really bad calls, and the wife would understand, and the wife could be there and know how to support him without having to know the graphic details of the call.
Yeah, it's actually,
But that's something that takes time to build. It also takes a lot of trust and a lot of understanding.
Yeah, I mean, I can speak firsthand. I mean, I have a friend, a very close friend, and her and I were partners. She was my medic she was my mouthy critical care tech when I was just an EMT. She's a medic now, but yeah, I mean, you're spending 24 hours with this person, and you're going through all kinds of ups and downs and struggles, and fighting, falling asleep and all this shit, and fatigue, and you get close and you talk, and yeah, I mean, there's things like her and I have talked about that Tammy and I haven't talked about. Just because her and I were on the call together, and I'll tell Tammy, okay, this is what happened, X, Y, and Z, but the intricate details and stuff. Number one, I'm not really gonna, get into that, at home for other reasons. But yeah, I mean, we'll sit there and go over, the minutia of what we did and things like that, and that's actually kind of helpful, So yeah, I mean, having I never refer to her as my work wife, but.
That became their joke. So
yeah, I get it. But I mean, I mean, to this day, like she'll come with me over to her house to go to her daughter's birthday, a couple weeks ago, and so I mean, it's like, yeah, it's all good. Everybody knows. When I was going through medical school, she was teaching me cardiology, so I would say, Tammy, I'm going to Nikki's, bye, and off I'd go, and we'd do cardiology till 10 o'clock at night, and I'd come home, and no big deal, because there's nothing to worry about.
Yeah, it comes down to trusting your partner and building that overall trust, and it's okay to have or to talk to somebody, even if it's male or female, to have that friendship, to kind of balance that work home relationship where you don't want to come home and just be stressed all the time, and talk it over with your spouse constantly. It's okay to have that extra friend to dish it off on instead of coming home and stressing your spouse out or something.
Yeah, and I think
that balance is what I'm getting.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I think you hit it too, because your partner being in the stuff too, they might be having a hard time. So it's like, it's like if you
with
both
their
have a bad
own
day,
thing, it's going to be bad. So
Well, and-
it's okay sometimes not to talk about
Right.
it. Too.
Well, and that's one thing that I kind of wanted to go into was, we talk about one person having a bad day, but now what if Jess comes home having a terrible call, but then I also did a terrible call, and now we're both coming home, and it's like, how do we deal with those types of situations? I think there's a lot of times where I'm listening to her calls and she loses me. As soon as Jess starts talking about a vent, I'm like, you're smarter than me. Stop it.
Right.
You had me up until now. Now you've lost me.
Yeah, and sometimes the
she'll be like,
education
yeah,
isn't the same.
Right.
Yeah.
And she'll be like, yeah, the PIP was this and this was that, and I changed it to this, and we did this, and I'm like,
Everything worked out
And
great.
just like,
it sounded like you did everything right, honey. Going with everything's
go
gonna
with
be
it.
just fine.
I don't object to anything.
I'm just like, I don't know. You lost me at. We put them on the vent. And,
we got in the helicopter.
and that's okay. And I've told her that 100,000 times. But every single time I listen and I'm like, teach me stuff. And then she does, and then I don't understand it. And just because I don't use it, you know, so there's no correlation there. But, I think having that doorway to sit there and be like, hey, you know, every single time she'll text me and she'll be like, yeah, just got off a really bad call. And I'll be like, okay, call me when you can.
Yeah.
Because I'm like, I'll listen to over the phone. Like, give it to me now, and then we can talk about it again in 12 hours when you get home.
Yeah.
You know, and she does the same thing for me. And it's like, you know, I don't see nearly as many bad calls as she does.
Right.
You know, being that my problems become her everyday problems, you know? So it's like there's a difference there, you know? But yeah, I mean, what happens when you have a bad day together?
So for Gerard and I, it's the dark sense of humor.
Yeah.
Well, my call was this bad. Well, my call was worse because of this. No, wait, mine was this.
Right. Wait, you one up in me?
Wait, wait.
Right.
But wait, it
I
gets
did more
better.
calls
This
than you.
happened.
Right.
Gotta throw that one in there.
See, I have the dark sense of humor. She
Right.
doesn't.
We do.
You know, yeah. So, like, I'll make the bad joke, and then she looks at me and was like, that was inappropriate.
Too far.
I can say, like, I think if we've both had a bad day, most of the time or some of the time, we'll both come home really, really quiet.
Yeah.
And we'll just kind of give each other some space to just process
Right.
everything that happened through the day. Because, like, if I've had a really bad call, and I've also done multiple calls throughout the day, I'm so overstimulated by the time I leave work that I just need some time to just relax, not talk to anybody, not think about anything that happened, and just let some relaxation happen. And then usually after a little bit of time, we'll talk it out and we feel better. And then we just go to sleep because we're exhausted from all the stress.
That was great. Do it again tomorrow.
Yep.
Yeah. I feel bad for our kids when we both have a bad day, because either we're both a little checked out and they kind of just, you know, we're not, you know, maybe entertaining enough for them, or we're overly entertaining because we're trying to be like distract ourselves.
Right. Yeah, and yeah, I mean, it's funny. Yeah, you guys are the only ones with kids here. Well, Tammy has her daughter, but she's she's grown. But you know what? Honestly, even then, you know, I had my horrific thing that I had to fucking deal with, and you know, there were times when we would be with her to do something, and I would just get like really short or something like that, and regret it later. But it's like she doesn't understand that I didn't mean to be short with her or yell at her or whatever. I mean, I don't think I've ever yelled at her, but just be the way I was.
Yeah, it's
And,
forgiving the
yeah.
small outbursts that are intentional. It's not personal.
Yeah.
It's just in the moment.
Right.
But it's I mean, but they don't understand that.
Right. And I think the age of, like you touched on age. Age is a huge thing, because I remember when the boys were really young, toddler age, you didn't have the luxury of coming home, I'm exhausted, now I'm up. I have to be up because I can't trust these kids to take care of themselves. They'd be dead. So I can't go to sleep. Like, I'm up, and yeah, you get short, because they try your patience. Now that the boys are older, they're old enough where our oldest, he can make food for himself. He can make sure the youngest doesn't kill himself.
Right.
Like, he can do certain things. So if her and I need to sit there and be like, hey guys, we were up all night. Dad, mom's not home. Let me sleep for an hour.
Yeah.
We'll park ourselves on the couch. They sit right on the couch with us. They watch TV.
Cool.
And we know that they're not going to be dead by the time we wake up. And they're completely like, yeah, cool, whatever. We understand now. A couple of years ago, that wasn't an option. So it got easier as they got older, but it was really hard.
Very
It
rough
was
when
really
they were
hard when
little.
they were little, like super little.
With both of us working EMS, and yeah.
And you going
Yeah,
to school.
there's some long days and long nights.
Well, and I'll tell you, you mentioned school. I've said this, a bunch of times to everybody, is that Jess and I's hardest times throughout our entire time together was when I was in school.
Yep.
Because I was working full time, I was in school full time, I was riding full time for my ride time. She was working full time, and we had 2 toddlers at the house.
Right.
And she was a stay-at-home mom, full-time parent, single parent for one whole calendar year.
Plus working.
and,
Well,
work,
that-
and
but,
working.
that's,
Yeah.
but that's what I'm saying. You
Yeah,
added
yeah.
on all of that, and there was hatred on both ends. We did not like each other by the end of that year
Yeah.
for a multitude
Yeah.
of reasons, and it took a long time for us to be able to be okay with that year.
Yeah.
But I mean, it really like when they say medic school will stress every part of your life, it really does. Like that was our worst time where both of us hated each other at the end of that.
Yeah, I remember, the conversations, and it's like, yeah, no, I get it. Yeah. I mean, like on our end, when I was going through school, I mean, I think every day I came home and I was like, I think I just need to quit. I just need to
Pretty much,
quit.
yeah.
I think I'm just going to quit. I don't think this is good for now. I mean, her mom was going through chemo and cancer and all that, and it was,
My
it was
daughter
like,
had come back from college.
daughter came back from college and was
with a
living with us with a boyfriend. So it was like,
living in the house. Yeah,
and then,
it was
hey,
a
I'm going to
nightmare,
paramedic school. Yeah.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah.
And so with all that, which is, I guess it's kind of why, like, when I am in, when I teach now, it's like, I hear them, oh, I can't do this. I don't have time for that. I'm like, I have no sympathy. I'm like,
Yeah.
fuck you, suck it up and do it. But
So-
right, exactly.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
Go ahead.
Oh, yeah, because I was going to say, when I was going through EMT school, I had 2 uncles pass away within a month of each other and still had my ride time that needed to be done. So, yeah, you're right. When they whine and cry, I'm like, please, you have no idea.
But it was it was nice going through that. I know, even though you guys were stressed and ready to freaking kill each other, she still understood why you were doing it. It was just
That's because she made me.
well, I mean,
I told him he had to do it.
right. He had to do it, and
This was not my decision.
right, and you understood the stuff that
So you could be
was
mad,
going
but-
on.
You know it was your fault.
Right.
Well, and that was
No, it's his
a
fault.
lot. Well, that was a lot of the parts of why I got mad was
Right.
because, like, I'm gone and she's yelling at me that I'm gone all this time, and it's like you told me to do this. It's like the only one that you could be mad about is you. You signed me up for this.
Oh shit! What did I open up?
A few years before
Oh, no.
that, so
I mean, she is correct on that. I sat on that for like 4 years.
So before I
Oh, now the truth
completely
comes out.
destroy your
Yeah.
relationship, I'm just, my point was that even though there was the stress and all that, the fact that she is who she is and what she does understand what you were going through day in and day out. So it's not like she thought you were just out throwing the football with the boys.
Yeah. So, yeah, you guys. Was there anything else from you guys on that subject?
I think going through, I went through paramedic school like the first year of our relationship.
that's
So
right.
we didn't spend a lot of time together because I worked full time.
Yeah, I think you
And
spent more time
part-time.
with me and the other.
Yeah,
And
I
the
spent
other one,
more
yeah.
time interning because it was COVID. So you had that stress.
Yeah,
Both of my grandparents got really
right.
sick
and
and
then
passed
the
away.
car accident.
The car accident with my mom. So like we
Yeah.
went through a lot, and he understood. He was never, mad at me
Yeah.
if I just couldn't do anything. I mean, we really didn't do anything. My whole year was dedicated to working and paramedic school. But having him to be there and like being understanding of like
Yeah.
class and how much driving and everything that I was doing, and he was really supportive, and I think it helped. I don't think that if I was in a relationship with somebody who was not in EMS, I don't think that they would understand that at all. Because I mean, we would go like at least a week or so without seeing each other. Like,
Oh yeah, you'd come in.
It was
you'd,
rough.
You'd just change your clothes like freaking Supergirl and
Yep.
off to the next gig.
yep,
Yeah.
gotta go. So,
But no, I was gonna say about like the like you were talking about like with the work wife or the work husband. I mean like literally like I would spend more time with her than you were, and her and I would talk about things that were bothering her and things like that. And it was like we just had that bond kind of relationship that you have no choice but to form because you have to maintain your sanity. And I remember when you broke down and were crying, and we had to have that little chat outside the ambulance, and
I think
and
I've broken
that-
down to you before.
no, right. That is true. Yeah, I'm their personal
He's our
Dr.
therapist.
Phil.
Yeah.
Hey, are you charging for it?
no.
I win with every successful IV he puts in before they leave the scene.
He literally talked about that the other day.
Right on.
Yep.
Awesome.
It is easier, I guess, not bumping down a road.
Right.
I took that advice pretty well.
Tries. Like, fuck, I missed again.
Pull over. I got it. We're good. I mean, I will say the only time I pull over is if I'm going for a foot. Other than that, it's like, all right, I got this. Let's go. And then then the first time I went down 23A on the mountain, I'm like, this was a bad idea.
and that's how I learned. It's like, da-doom, da-doom, da-doom. Oh, shit.
It's not even the ups and down. It's the left,
The left
and
and
the right.
right. Yeah, the swaying. Yeah, it's no good.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it is weird how relationships form, whether it's, friendships, actual, loving relationships, that kind of stuff. And yeah, I mean, the things we do to cope and get by and help each other out. It's, police, fire, military, that kind of stuff. I mean, it's all
one and the same.
It's pretty much the same type of deal.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So like talking, we kind of, alluded to time apart and time together. I think one of the craziest things that I think a lot of EMS couples go through is they don't see a lot of each other all the time, and from the for my personal experience, Jess and I have been married now 10 years. We've been together for 12. And from the time that we started dating, it was like, you guys, oh, hey, we're not going to see each other for like 4 or 5 days. Right. Okay. And then we moved in together and then we were living together afterwards. And it just became normal. It was normal for me to be like, yeah, I'm seeing my wife like once this week for the day. And that was it. And everyone else is like, how do you do that? I'm like, I don't know. It's the only thing I've ever known, because it's literally that we built the relationship on that. And I think it becomes easier. Like if I'm working and she's working and then I'm working and we literally don't see each other for 4 days, it's like, okay, this is going to suck, honey, but see you in a week.
Right.
Distance makes the heart grow fonder.
Yep. Yeah, and it really does. I don't think that that's always a bad thing for people that are in the business. I think where it really stresses someone is when they expect you home every day.
Right.
And you're gone for 2 to 3 days
Right.
or a 24-hour period. And they're like, well, where are you?
Right, I've got all this stuff. I mean, there have been times where Tammy was, like overwhelmed with stuff at home, especially when, she was dealing with her mom and her elderly father. And it's like, and I'd be gone, completely gone. And, there were times where I've made the conscious decision of, hey, you know what, boss, I got to go home.
Yeah,
Bye.
and that's
fire me tomorrow.
Well, and
whatever.
that's kind of the topic I wanted to get into is how is work affected when home really isn't all that swell? Like if things are happening at home, you're overly stressed, something's happening, you're dealing with a lot of stuff, maybe there's, problems with the relationship itself. How does that really transfer into work? I mean, we're all human. We know it's going to transfer. I know that my care suffered and my whole mental status suffered when her and I are fighting, because it doesn't happen all that often. And when it does, it's usually her and I are very stubborn. So we usually fight and then we're like, fuck off. And then we don't talk to each other for, 12 hours, or I think the longest we've ever gone was a day. It's like, I don't want to speak to you.
Right.
I'm going to hold out longer than you, And then you're just sitting there like, I don't like her.
There have literally been times where, like, she's like, no, I'm glad you're going to work tomorrow because I need some time alone.
She's totally pulled that one. Yes. She's like, I just want my alone time. Go take the kids somewhere. I'm like, you want alone time to clean? Yes, it's relaxing. Okay, cool. Bye.
Yes, it is.
Being in a clean space is very relaxing. So, so I think that, EMS in general has a systemic issue of being underpaid. So I think that being overworked and working, multiple jobs and way too many hours is a huge problem throughout EMS and a huge stressor on families and couples.
Yeah.
Oh, I agree, absolutely. But then again, there's also times where he's going, I'm working at 12 tomorrow. Great. So I'm sitting there planning all the things that, I wanted to do.
Right.
My alone time.
Yeah, I picked up an extra shift. Bye.
Just marry a nurse. It's so much easier.
Yeah, or you come home
Just
from
marry a
that.
nurse. It's,
Right, yeah.
she got another pay raise. I'm like, again, what do you need me for, honey?
Right, be like, Corey, hey, I'm getting another boat.
Bigger boat?
Bigger boat.
I mean, I've been relegated to bonbon status, really. Like,
I mean, in essence, I don't know if it's kind of been, we haven't really talked about it, but, no secret, I got hurt and I've been out of work for, a few months now, and I've literally become like a domestic goddess.
I was one of those.
It's
fun.
I'm cooking, cleaning, freaking, doing all this crap, and I make sure she has a meal ready when she comes home from work. It's, it's good to go, and it's
Coffee in the morning.
coffee in the morning, make her peanut butter and jelly sandwich, cut it.
She
'cause
gets
likes it
up
cut.
way too early for me
You
to make
know?
her
I
coffee.
love the PB&Js.
Yeah, right. So I mean,
It is an EMS staple.
It is. It is.
Yeah, I
But
posted
I
it on the
understand
wall.
why,
She was
but
sleeping.
again, like I know, she's going to do her thing, and hey, I gotta hold up the other end.
Yeah, and it's again being the only ones that have kids at the table. We've kind of done it where it's like, okay, this year you're gonna work more than me, and I'm gonna stay at home, and I'm gonna be the stay-at-home mom, stay-at-home dad, whatever. And then we'll be like, okay, you know what? You got ambitions, you got opportunities. We're gonna flip-flop, So and we've done that kind of partnership for the last couple of years, and it's worked out really well. Now, I mean, it's no secret that she makes way more than I do and should be working all the time, or otherwise we would be poor and desolate and destitute and probably dead somewhere with my salary. But,
So the rest of us at this table.
Why it's so hard for EMS couples, because now you're both underpaid and having
you are not underpaid.
But
Corey would agree with me if he was sitting there.
I do your taxes.
But yeah, no, I mean,
Yeah, but Jess is an exception to the norm for most couples.
Right.
It's
If
true.
It's true. I'm an EMT. Gerard's a paramedic.
Right.
The only reason I make as much as he does is because I instruct.
Right.
Because
Yeah.
if we had to live off my EMT salary, we'd be screwed.
yeah.
When
When she
or
told me
you
to-
would never see me.
Yeah, when she told me what she was making, I was like, God
Yeah,
damn.
no, I look at the EMT salaries often,
What am I
and it's
doing?
like, how do these EMTs survive? And
They
it's tough
literally
as
work.
two paramedics.
They work to death.
Yeah.
They literally
Yeah.
work
There-
themselves to death.
There are people within the system that I work that tell me their schedule, and
Yeah.
they literally work 36 hours in one place, go directly to the next place, do 36 hours, go to the next place, and do 36 hours, and
Yeah.
then they go home for one day,
And then do it all over.
and then do
Right.
it all over again.
Yeah.
And that's to live in their comfort level.
But
Where that is-
But what are you living? I mean,
and that's
you're-
probably at the minimum too.
yeah.
Who knows?
Yeah,
Who knows?
That's middle or what's the way we're
Middle of the road.
middle class poor.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Yes,
basically what it is.
yeah.
It's middle class poor because you make too much to get any kind of help,
Help.
but you're barely surviving, barely
Right.
keeping food
Yeah,
on the
'cause
table
we're
and your head
look-
above water.
We're looking for a house now, and we'd make just over that
Right.
margin,
Right.
and we get no help. So we got to cough up $30,000.
I told you could have bought my house. I told you that multiple times.
If only the bank would agree with that.
Yeah, right. They're like,
We
"Great,
were
you'll-"
there. We were there once.
Will you take $100,000 off?
We were in that exact boat once.
And the guy's like, Greg, you're not a nurse, are you?
It's only 2 years of school. You'll be fine.
I'm trying.
Keep going.
The scheduling, like we were talking about 36s, like I tried to apply for Hudson Valley to get my prereqs done for nursing, and I can't do chemistry now because the schedule doesn't cooperate.
Right.
And the bills have to be met, and you just can't take time off. So it's tough to move forward in this profession as well.
Bingo. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Great point. Yeah. I mean, like if you want to better yourself, I mean, you got to do it while you're working full time. I mean, yeah, when I at one point I was working 5 EMS jobs when I was an EMT. Oh yeah, I was like,
yeah.
yeah, you thought I was from the
I
Bahamas.
feel like that was well deserved.
Oh yeah, yeah. I was working the one place, the other place, the other place,
The
the
next
one up
place.
the mountain, and then teaching. So, yeah, and I was bouncing all between that, and then I said, hey, I want to go be a paramedic. And I think I might have cut one of those out. And 2 of them out, that's right. Yeah, I remember we had to sit there and figure out which one was going to go. And so even there, so I'm still going through paramedic school working 3 other jobs. You know, it's crazy.
Well, it's like myself too. At the moment, for this week and next week, I'm actually only working 1 job. I don't know what to do with myself. I'm so used to working 3 and 4 different places. You know, finishing here, running there, finishing there, running here. This whole 1 job thing is like,
I can't speak to that.
yeah. I'm like, hey, look, I'm home at 5 o'clock. I don't know what.
I've
do I
been the
do?
stay-at-home dad for a few years now, and
Yeah.
I worked 1 24-hour shift a week, and people look at me like, you do what? I'm like, yeah. My wife makes double plus what I do. Why do I need to work? I can sit and be fat and happy and take care of the kids.
Why would I stress myself out?
Right. Like, I teach because she says go and teach because it's what you love. And I'm like, thank you. And I work 1 day a week.
No, and same thing. People look at me like I got 8 heads when I tell them, yeah, I don't work 24s, dude. I only do 12. Sorry.
Yeah.
I go home and sleep at night. I sleep in my bed with my woman.
Yeah.
I'm not sleeping here in some freaking bed bug infested bunk room and, you know, somebody else's, you know,
Which is funny
hot
because
stacking ass on the
I
toilet
will-
seat.
I
No,
will tell
I'm
you.
not doing it. Sorry.
I go and I'm like, all right, I left 1 job working a backwards 24. Now I'm gone. Now I'm with this job, which I've been for a while, but a schedule opened up where I was like, ooh, a 24. Cool. I'm going to take that. And then immediately I was like,
Regret.
Gerard's going to yell at me.
Instant regret.
The moment you get in
Gerard's
the
going to
first
sit there
shift.
and be like, you know, we talk about that, how bad that is on the podcast. And head bomb and everything. And he's going to be like, that's right, Jared.
That's right, Jerry.
See, I love the 24s because then I fill all my hours in the shorter amount of time, and I'm home more, and my job allows us to have crew rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
What was
if
that
we
again?
if we become so tired,
I know you're not
that-
clear from the
that
other
we
one, but-
shouldn't, continue.
Right.
yeah, but I mean, how many EMTs or paramedics are out there who are on their 24, their second 24 from their second job? I don't really want them showing up at my door if
Yeah.
I'm sick because I know they're not going to give me the best care.
You
Yeah,
might end up
that's
with
very true.
bihemispheric oxygenation.
Yeah. Our job, and I'm sure other EMS agencies, like my agency, I'm sure other agencies have these kind of policies in place to safeguard from those issues.
Yeah.
But our policy is that you have to have a minimum of 10 hours of rest prior to picking up a shift. So that includes working another job or any
Right.
Within the last couple of years, they started implementing those standards where you need to have, you can't work 24s anymore. You had to have that 8-hour period. But before, there really wasn't a cap. At least
And there,
at one
and
of
there
my
really isn't in
agencies,
a
there
lot of
wasn't.
places. Certain places have been doing it, and we've talked in length about the 24s and how detrimental they can be. Like the only reason why I chose to do it, having Gerard in the back of my head, glaring at me, going, "You're a hypocrite. I hate you," was the fact that where the station that I work does like 4 calls a week.
Yeah.
So I might do 1 call on a 24-hour shift.
Yeah.
And that to me is safe.
It's risk
That's a
reward.
great point, too.
Right.
Yeah, it depends on the agency.
If I'm doing 12 calls in a 24-hour period or even, 4 or 5 really bad ones, that's no. I need to sit in Gerard's corner and be like, yeah, this is too much. But the station that I'm doing it in doesn't really do all that much. So I felt like it was still safe that I wouldn't be too tired at 3 o'clock in the morning. Okay. So I think it's risk and benefit,
Right.
wherever you go, you just kind of have to weigh those options. But I agree. 24s are great in the fact that I can still see my kids for 6 days.
Yeah.
She can still see the kids for 5 days. And it's like, okay, hey, yeah, I'm going to be gone for a day. And it took them a long time to get used to that. Oh, man, how long is it going to be until daddy's home?
Right.
And now it's not as bad. Like they're a little disappointed.
They can
but
understand more,
They
too.
can
Yeah.
understand more. And it's not like, they're barricading the door. Like,
Right.
no, you're not going to work.
Or I remember like was it the one time it was Roman or someone who grabbed your leg and was like, "Don't go."
Yeah,
So, I remember
and then
that.
they scream and cry, and because they don't understand how long that period of time it is, and now, and I think one of the biggest things that like Jess and I kind of do is we give the boys enough knowledge about what we do to understand, but not to be scared
Right.
or worried or concerned. So, like, they understand that mommy works in a med flight helicopter and she takes care of really sick patients and she flies around like, a B.A. Baracus badass.
That's pretty cool.
Right. I mean, it's fucking
Well,
cool.
BA doesn't really like to fly, so
That
probably
is-
a bad analogy.
They don't think it's cool.
Anymore.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever, mom.
I mean, now.
Unless you're landing it here, we don't care.
Right.
Yeah, we've seen the helicopter.
Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
They landed in the backyard one time and the boys were like, meh, we've seen it before.
Oh, that is awesome. That is
Like,
cool.
but
Right.
At my age, I'd be impressed.
right, right. Like, I wish I was here to be
Right.
like, that was fucking
That
cool.
was cool.
But at the same time, like, we've given them enough to understand, like we were talking about a call that happened in the local area today, and our oldest is like, oh, well, what happened? Did they survive? And we're like,
Ooh,
we're
toughie.
sitting there and we're like,
Shoot, we shouldn't have said anything. in front of
Right,
them.
and now you can't lie.
and
Right.
we're
Well,
like,
you got to remember, they're always listening.
right.
Right.
And we're like, they got really hurt. And that's where we left it. And he was like, okay, cool. And when they ask, like, hey, why is this? We give them, again, enough to understand it, but not enough to be like, that's dangerous. And I feel like that helps a lot, because if we come home and we say, hey, daddy had a really sick patient and, I need some time, they're like, okay, cool. Daddy took care of a really sick patient and that's what he does. I'll give him some space. So that I think, again, it's that communication about what we do really is the basis for everything. Educating everyone around you on what we do and how we kind of have to cope around a lot of things, and taking opportunities. Like, I think taking opportunities to leave work at work where it belongs and not bring home the drama is pivotal.
It's one thing to come home and talk about calls and stuff, but to
Right.
bring home all the other bullshit.
Well, and
Yeah.
I honestly don't think it's healthy to be, if we're working, full-time med flight, part-time ground EMS. I don't think it's healthy to be on a volley squad or do this or do that and then load up more on yourselves. Be at home, be with your significant other, be with your kids if you got them. And don't worry about the fire department. Don't worry about the volunteer rescue squad. Don't worry about that. They're not paying you. Like, it's
And her and I
it
literally just
doesn't.
had this conversation. Yeah, no, you're right.
Be with your relationship and strengthen that. You know what? They will get another EMT at that fire department to
Right.
do those calls. You know
It's
what?
like people
Protect
are like,
yourself.
we got to hurry up and get back in service because we're like 3 hours away, but we got to get back. I'm like, that's what mutual aid's for,
Right.
Yeah.
It's protect yourself and your relationship around you. And I think, her and I volunteer for a local fire department. I do one call
I was
a
just
year.
gonna say, you answer calls.
Exactly. I do one call a year, but I'm on a roster.
Right.
I do one call a year.
But like her and I
And
were,
that's it.
Yeah, her and I were just talking about this because she's been a long time firefighter EMT at the local volunteer agency we have in our town, and yeah, she's just like, no, I'm done. I can't do this anymore.
Yeah.
I don't.
It's not
too,
worth it.
It's too much. Misery. Other people's misery and things like that, and horrible things, and you're not getting paid for it, and it's just. And then all the other crap that goes along with it, the drama and everything. Yeah, why?
Politics.
The politics.
Yeah.
That's what ruins
Yeah.
ruins the volunteer service is the politics.
Yeah.
Yeah, seriously, and honestly, that is more of why I don't really make the calls that I used to make.
Yeah.
I mean, I
Yeah.
used to be
It's
one
why
of the
I
top
left
10
my
responders.
original squad.
Yeah.
You know, it's a
Done.
sad
So,
truth, but
yeah.
that's what it comes down to
Yep.
is
Yep.
the
Yeah.
politics.
So
If you can volunteer and you have a good group of people, that's great, and it's great for your community. But yeah, definitely for us, with having 2 young kids at home, and we often try and work separate, opposite schedules. So one of us is always home with the kids. It becomes a lot to
Yeah.
try and volunteer on top of that.
So, and when I first started EMS, I mean, I was a single mom and I was riding volunteer ambulance. And so that's how my daughter got her first cell phone, is because I'm like, I need to get a hold of you if I'm not here. So I've never done overnight calls because at the time she was young. So I'm like, nope. I said, I will do any kind of daytime calls, any evening calls, but I will not do overnights. And I just, always kept that policy that I would not do overnights. And 2, it came to a point where I was spending more time in EMS meetings over bullshit than I was home with my child or doing calls or working my other job. And her grades started to drop. And I'm like, no, can't do this anymore.
Yeah. It's
You know,
not worth
It's
it.
not worth it.
Yeah.
Yep.
She needs me. And, the meetings would go on for hours and they would solve nothing. It was
Right.
basically gripe sessions.
Right.
Can't do
And
this
that's
anymore.
it. You have to find
Yeah.
out where your priorities are. And, in my opinion, our job is our job. But, Jess and I have always had, and she came into this relationship with this kind of thinking because I was a workaholic meeting her. I was one of the ones that jumped into EMS, and I was volunteering with fire. I was volunteering with EMS.
So was I. Yeah,
And,
me
and
and
I
you were the
worked.
same.
I worked
Yeah.
6 days a week.
She's the same.
And, and she was like, I don't live to work. I work to live.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was like mind explosion.
Right.
And that's how we've lived since the day I met her,
Right.
and I think that's where a lot of people have to get. EMS is not the end all be all of your life. Like, you're going to go through EMS and you're going to get pounded down, and then you're going to come out and you're going to be broken, angry, and poor, and broken.
Right.
Yeah.
And you're going to have nothing to show for it other than, hey, I served for 30 years. Who the fuck cares?
Right.
So take care of those relationships and leave work where it belongs. It's a job. That's all it is. And the last thing I kind of want to touch base on, and I want to talk directly to you, Gerard, because you brought this question to me when you emailed this to me.
Okay.
So, and really, you're the one that has had the significant event. But say somebody in one of these relationships has a once in a lifetime significant event where something went wrong or with care, and now there's court proceedings, or the ball rolls down the hill.
Yeah.
All of the bad juju opens up out of the box. Now you're involved in this. How does that affect you, but then also your home life? Like, how does that balance itself out?
Yeah, we're 4 years out from when that happened now, and like it was like a week ago or something. I get a freaking email from a lawyer that's like, we want to talk to you because you're on the freaking thing that says you were providing
there.
care. And
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, I don't want to talk to you. Yeah, you can talk to the EMS coordinator for the county. If they want me to talk to you, then I'll sit there with their solicitor.
Mm-hmm.
But I mean, as far as, like immediately following, there was like it was nice. Like, I can't even say it's nice. While it was ongoing, it was actually close to where we lived. So she was home, and, like when the totality of it was, kind of sinking into everybody, and, like she was able to, like, bring me a change of clothes because I was covered in nasty. And, she understood, she didn't quite, she understood, like, it was bad.
It was bad. Yeah.
It was not good.
Yeah.
And, but, she was right there, showed up, made sure I had a change of clothes, something to eat, and, I'm stupid. I went back in service, but, But yeah, when I came home in the morning, I would say probably for about a week there was like just that kind of shell shock, just kind of, what the fuck just happened? And then little by little, things manifested itself and into, where things became stressed between her and I. And, I was becoming angry for no fucking reason whatsoever and just being an asshole and, hating the world. And because, it literally just consumed me. Everything, my life was all about that. And when I would try to let it go, other people would bring it in, and it was like I couldn't get away from it. And her and I actually I moved out, and I was gone for about 6 months, and all through it she kept the lines of communication open, and her and I talked things through, and actually talked to counselors and things like that, and worked through it, and I realized, things that I didn't understand, what my brain was going through, and, the stress it was bringing home, because, I kept working, after that. And,
Right.
So now you're bringing the stress from the daily job, plus all the bullshit, and it just, it will destroy your home life. And I think the only reason we survived is because, she's done this, and she's had horrible, fucking horrific calls too. And she understood that, he needs some time alone, really, to get through this, and then, she's gonna keep me on the hook and not just cut me free, and rebuild it, and get him back, get him normal again, get him back to the guy he was, and I don't think I'll ever be that guy again, but I'm trying, and I think we're better for it. But yeah, I think if it was a, just a, somebody who worked at a bank. And I'd be sitting here by myself going, "Oh, you guys have really nice relationships going on,
Or worse.
Yeah,
or worse.
Or worse, yeah.
Representation of someone who is not in EMS.
For the non-EMS,
The non-EMS people?
it's
Yeah.
patience. It's patience that comes
Yeah.
down to.
Patience and understanding. I
Yeah.
think, and again, that communication comes down to, the pivotal, idea. If I work in EMS and she didn't, I would want her to understand what I did.
Yeah.
So that if I came home grumpy, she wouldn't be like, "Oh, well, you're attacking me." No, I just had to do CPR on a 6-month-old. That's why I'm grumpy.
Right.
Sorry. And then there's no, anger towards her for not understanding.
Right. And and like she'd pick up on things like, I'd go into my 1,000-yard stare, and she'd pick up on it, and, "Hey, what are you thinking about?" I'm like, "What? You're still here?"
Yeah. Come back to the real world.
Right, yeah.
But yeah, for those first few weeks, you're right. You couldn't get away from it. It was on the TV. People were texting you. It was on Facebook. I'd be like, "Just shut your phone off. Just shut your phone
Yeah.
off." And then,
Then I would have thought he died.
Right.
yeah. And
That
then-
wasn't an option. Because then I would have showed up at the door.
Right.
Sometimes, you know what? But sometimes that's the best thing.
Oh, I
To be
know,
honest,
I know. But and he knew that,
And
he
Right,
knew that,
yeah.
And the funny thing is, we say it all the time, we got to lean on each other and take care of each other and all that stuff. And it really is the truth. If you make a good friend in this business, you want to talk about relationships, having a good friend that isn't your spouse is, probably one of the most important things you can get doing this. If you're a fucking douche, and you're gonna have a fucking hard time with this goddamn job, because you're gonna be by yourself when you really need people around you.
People
And
talk.
yeah, and people talk. Yeah,
Talk.
Yeah.
And having that guy, or girl, whoever, who is that crutch that'll hold you up when you're ready to fall. It's priceless. You can't put a price on it. He was that for me. All through everything. I'm sure he was probably like ready to just crack my fucking head open with a bat and just be like, "Dude, snap out of it."
Never once. I would have said that.
Well, yeah, that's true. Yeah, no,
I'm honest.
Yeah, all of a sudden you can see him with a Louisville in his hand, and you're like, "Oh, I should probably shut up."
It's time.
Yeah, I mean, talking about relationships, there's another one that, having friends. Yeah, I know that they always say in the book, oh, you got to have friends outside of this. Yeah, good fucking luck.
Yeah.
Okay?
So-
Yeah.
I don't have any friends that don't do this. It's all my friends do this.
I have some friends outside of EMS, but I find it hard to find things to talk about.
Right.
Yeah.
Exactly.
I don't know how to talk to them
You're-
because you can't. If you try and talk about work, it's just like, sometimes you feel like it's, you're just talking about your day-to-day stuff,
Right.
and they feel like it's, oh my God, that's so terrible. That's like the worst
Right.
thing ever, and it's like.
When you're chomping on your
like,
pizza, like what?
Sometimes it sets the conversation at like a level where you didn't expect it to be at.
No, you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
No, I mean that's a great point. I mean, like I said, I've tried to have a couple that weren't, part of what we do, and it didn't work. I can't relate to them. And like I say, I'll get around. Like we go to weddings and functions and things like that where I actually have to wear like dress up clothes.
Right, but I'll also go, but
Adult
so-and-so's here, and, he works corrections, or so-and-so's here, and,
Right,
he's
and all of a sudden,
fired,
I'm sitting there with the corrections officer, and me and him are just freaking teeing it off, and
Right, yeah.
but that's just it. We end up
I'm like, there is
in our
somebody
own
you can
little
talk
world,
to, because,
Right.
yeah.
And
It
so-
is
yeah.
really difficult to find common ground in talking, like there again for us it's a little easy because if I don't want to talk about work, then I talk about the boys.
Right.
Right.
Well, that makes it easy. If I didn't have the boys, then what do I talk about? It's like, okay, Star Wars. Something.
absolutely.
Hey, well, okay, you're not a nerd. Okay, well, there goes that idea.
Right.
Wrestling. Oh, no, you're not a bigger nerd. Okay, so I'm screwed here. Like,
The weather. Here
right,
we go. Let's talk
yeah,
about the weather.
Right. And now you're screwed.
Right.
So yeah, it really is. Like I kind of think about it like, I have one friend remaining that I still talk to and interact with from high school. They also work in EMS.
Of course.
So I mean,
but all of my other friends, they're out doing their own thing, and I've stopped associating with them, and now I only associate with people that are in our circle. Like Emily, Corey, you guys, we're all in the circle.
So.
I mean, the only other thing I would touch on regarding that, friends and whatnot, and just being around people that aren't, part of it, and like, she could probably, vouch for, how I get, but like, yeah, I mean, like, especially during that time in my life, and maybe a little bit still kind of today, I don't know, I'm just gonna speak for myself, but like, I end up like resenting people that I don't even fucking know, and I just don't like them. I resent them because they don't have to fucking deal with the shit that I got to deal with.
I remember when you and I were talking about that.
And it's like, yeah, I'm sitting at the table and, we're at a wedding and it's supposed to be this wonderful time. Everyone's talking nice, happy. And I'm just sitting there going, fuck you.
Yeah.
I hope you fucking die.
Then I'll be there.
Right? Right. All right, I'll bring you back and then fucking kill you again. But yeah, I mean, it was like
No, I'm on the wrong one.
you're on the wrong one.
Sorry. I mean, we are completely fucked with that.
Right, yeah.
I
Yeah.
was trying to hit your Darth Vader button.
Oh, there we go.
Damn
yeah.
soundboard.
But I mean, if there's something to, that maybe I can, pass on to, people listening to maybe pay attention to is, pay attention to something like that because, it'll eat you up just as much as anything else. And it's not a good feeling, and I, I've learned now that I try to go to these things with more of an open mind and, I just I'll mingle if I have to. I don't usually. I'll just kind of find a spot and sit, and usually somebody else who does this, who happens to be there, will gravitate to me. And then we end up talking for like 2 hours. But, it's one of those things that I didn't really realize until I started dealing with, what I was going through and realizing, yeah, I was resenting people that didn't deserve it. And just because they don't do what we do and for no other reason, I mean, Oh,
if I'm going to
a
be
banker,
miserable,
you
you're
know?
going to be
Right,
miserable.
exactly.
Or dead. One of the two.
Right.
Yeah.
Either
Right.
way, score.
Right.
So in wrapping up, is there anything else that you guys want to touch base on? Anything that you guys want to say, thinking about, feelings that you might have? You guys have been quiet for a while.
I think we hit everything pretty good.
I think the only other thing, I don't think I mentioned it, but I definitely more so to him than he does to me. I'll be like, this is the call I had. I'm not going to tell you what I did. Tell me what you would do.
Yeah.
Because I want
I
to
can't
see
do
things
that.
from somebody else's perspective
Yeah.
just to get a different, and sometimes he'll see
Right.
things I'm like, okay, I didn't think of it that way
Right, right.
initially. And now I'm thinking, and sometimes it'll send me spiraling, but most of the time it's like educational. I'm like, okay,
Yeah.
I can do it a different way than how I did it before.
Yeah, she'll
and I
do-
didn't
Do you
think
want to
of
know
that.
how to put an end to that? I'll give you my wife's phone number.
Right. There you go.
Okay.
Oh,
You'll
no,
come,
no,
I
no.
come home
No,
and
no, if
I'm
you
like,
really want to put an end to it, give her Foster's phone number.
I'll come home and I'll be like, all right, honey, I did this, 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 and this. And she's like, that's not what I would have done. Okay, honey, what would you have done? That, and that. It's like,
Sorry, I can't do that.
all right, I'm stupid. Thanks. Great pep talk. And it's not even like she's doing it to, make me feel bad or tear me down. It's just she thinks at a different level than
Right.
I do. So things that I would be more hesitant to do, she's like, done. And drugs that I would be like, yeah, I'm going to go with this. She's like, well, why didn't you go that? I don't,
We don't
carry
carry
that.
that.
Okay. So there's, why didn't you have these vent settings? Honey, have you seen my vent? It's got an on-off switch and 2 knobs.
Right?
That's what it does.
See, now Gerard and I have the opposite because I'm the EMT and he's the
Right.
paramedic, and he'll be like, "Oh, I did this, this, and this," and I'm like, "And how come you didn't use your EMT skills?"
Yeah, no, for real. It's like, I'm like, well, we are assigned. We had to do this and all this stuff. She's like, why don't you just put in an OPA and back?
MBA would have been fine.
I'm like, yeah, I could have just put an MPA in. All right. All right. Yeah.
Good thinking.
Glad you're here. Do it next time.
But it also holds true as well. Like, she'll come home and, like, all of a sudden she's like, here's a scenario. What would you do? And she would just give me the scenario. I'm like, well, okay, I would do this, that, and the other thing. Okay, as an EMT, what would you do? Okay, all right, I would do this, that, and the other thing. Okay, yeah, that's what I thought,
Yeah.
know.
And
yeah.
I think you just kind of do the same thing. Like, she'll be like, I almost feel like, and I say this to you all the time, hun, you second guess yourself so frequently. It's terrible because you're so smart and you know what your job is and you do it so well. But she'll come home and she'll be like, yeah, well, I could have done this, 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 and this. And I'm like, okay, run down what you did do. And then she's like, blah, this is what I did. And I'm like, so it sounds like you've done everything exactly to what you were supposed to. She's like, yeah, well, yeah, but I could have, I don't care what you could have done. You did everything that you were supposed
Yeah, but
to.
I could have got the rib spreader out and, like, squeezed the heart until we got there.
Could have done a borehole.
I think we all want to do our best, and we all are our worst critics.
Yeah, I agree.
That's true. Yeah. I mean, she'll tell you straight up. I mean, yeah, I was beating myself up something fierce, And there's times, yeah, well, like I'll have something hard that happened, and I come home and it's like, fuck, I should have done this and the other thing. God damn it, why didn't I fucking do that? And then that'll linger, and I'll just beat on myself for a while.
That just proves how stressful the job can be. Once
Right.
you're done with that stressful event, you're like, oh, I could have done this 10
Right.
different ways.
Yeah. And it literally is our job. I mean, there's like 100 ways to skin the same cat.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And not trying to, tell anyone to skin a cat. Please don't do that. But yeah, I mean, and we'll come home and we'll do everything right, and still, it's like it either wasn't enough or I should have done something. There had to be something I missed.
Yeah, if you don't get a good outcome, of course,
Right.
You're second guessing yourself, and you're wondering if there's anything that you could have done differently.
Yeah. Why didn't I do that? Why
Sometimes
didn't I
there
go
isn't,
back
and
in?
Sometimes it's
Yeah.
nice to have that partner at home that can that has your back and
Bingo.
and knows enough to be like, no, you did your best. You did
Yeah.
everything you could.
Yeah, because this isn't a job that you can always leave at the door.
And
Unfortunately, it kind of
that's true.
follows you
Yeah.
home.
As much as we want to say, oh, leave your work at work. Yeah, good luck.
I mean, technically, it follows you up to 10 years or something
Yeah.
like that. Technically,
Yeah. Good luck with that.
you could
Yeah.
get
Don't
summoned.
tell people that.
Tell me how
that's,
it
that's the EMS secret. We don't talk about that.
That's not in the brochure.
We'll edit
Right.
that one out.
They didn't shoot that on 911 this week, all right? Well, guys, thank you for joining us. Like I said, I thought this was going to be a very interesting episode, and it hits, it hits deep and hard at home, and I hope that people that are listening are like, hey, let's examine some things in our home life too. Like, again, we're not experts, but these are things that work for us, and I feel like everyone here has a healthy relationship, and an open one. In the sense that you guys can talk about what we do on a daily basis and still have a healthy relationship afterwards, and not, oh, hey, well, I would have done it this way, and now you're stupid because,
Right.
that's terrible way, it goes both ways. So thank you guys for joining us, and everyone, we will see you in a couple days. Stay safe.
I think she should say donuts.
Ooh,
My significant other.
okay.
Donuts.
Wow, that was donuts like, I'm gonna fucking kill you, donuts.
Thank you for listening to today's episode. If you'd like more information on the podcast or to send us a call to review, visit medicmaterials.com/podcast. To learn more information, like us on Facebook at Medic Materials EDU, or watch our weekly instructional videos on the Medic Materials YouTube channel.